A golf swing is classified as a gross motor and discrete skill in a closed environment. For Gentile's taxonomy, in the first dimension, the environmental context, the golf swing is considered a closed skill with inter-trial variability. This is because the golfer is hitting a stationary ball and the way the golf course is set up, with multiple hills and divots. In the second dimension, which is action requirements, the body is stable and there is object manipulation. This is so because the feet of the golfer stay connected to the ground throughout the swing and there is manipulation of the golf club. There are multiple key components of a golf swing which are outlined in a study done by Barnett and Co., highlighting the basic aspects of a golf swing to teach children. The table shows a number of key components of the swing, such as grip, stance, swing, and weight transfer. This can help us identify which components need to be broken down to teach and how to structure the 4-week program for a novice. As the learner progresses through the 4-week program, they should be able to integrate the key components together.
We chose 2 retention tests and 2 transfer tests for our learner to perform the golf swing. The retention tests were qualitative tests, making the learner perform the skill and being marked on their technique, and quantitative tests, marking the learner on how far they can hit the golf ball with correct technique. Before the learner completes the test, they are provided a physical demonstration on the specific technique cues needed, and then an average score is calculated on their technique, execution, and distance the ball goes. All tests have a pre-test, a training phase, and a post-test. The pre- and post-tests are the same to measure the effect that training has on learning the skill. Once the learner has practiced the golf swing, in the retention test we measure the learning skills variation. The transfer tests measure adaptability and how well the student can perform under a variety of conditions. The transfer test can either have a positive, negative, or neutral effect on the performance. They include performing a golf swing with 3 different sized golf clubs and performing it with a time limit and audience.
The learner would begin in the cognitive stage of learning, so the learner would be familiarising themselves with the requirements of the golf swing, such as spending a lot of time thinking about proper techniques such as grip, stance, posture, focus, swing, weight transfer, and then the outcome of the swing itself. They will be trialling movement patterns until they get an idea of the appropriate movement coordination pattern required to achieve the action of the goal of the swing. As the learner has had previous experience with tennis, here they would be consciously thinking about how they can incorporate the similar movement patterns into the swing. So now that the learner is starting to get the hang of the golf swing and has found a movement pattern that can solve this task, we are now at the associative stage of learning, and their performance will then be more consistent, and then they will be able to associate different cues with different outcomes. Errors are still being made, such as incorrect technique in their swing, but they will have an idea of where they were going wrong and then ways they can fix this. In the autonomous stage of learning, the learner can now perform the whole swing proficiently and confidently. The learner now understands the correct movement and positioning of their upper and lower body, with a stable body rotation towards performing a fast and precise swing. Fewer errors are being made, but there may be still some errors in the way that the swing is executed, but they have insight into what went wrong and then ways to fix this. The learner is performing the golf swing without much conscious cognitive processing. It's still not automatic yet, but it isn't taking much of their attention because it's now happening subconsciously. So here we have the learner performing a golf swing before any demonstrations were shown. Here the instructor is showing an initial demonstration of the entire skill, as this can give the learner a general idea of how to perform the skill and something to work towards. The learner is now translating vision to action after watching a demonstration of the entire skill. As you can see, the golf swing still has some errors as mentioned in the cognitive stage. With transfer of learning, the learner has previous experience with tennis, which is relevant to the grip of the golf club. The grip of a tennis racket can be transferred to the golf club, making the learner's ability to hold the club easy. Here the instructor is directing attention to the learner's legs as the learner is making an initial error of straightening their legs.
With the golf swing, the learner wants to have a little bit of bend in the knees.
The instructor then proceeds to incorporate a cue, which is sit in pants.
The learner at the moment does not have any bend in the knees. So one of the verbal cues that you can use is sit in pants, where it's almost as if you feel like you're sitting in your pants. You're going to want to have a little bit of bend in your legs. So you want to feel like you're sitting in your pants sort of thing. So you want to sort of like be sitting in your pants. You want to feel like you're bending your legs and you're sort of leaning over a bit. Make sure your arms are out. Your grip is good, but you want to make sure your arms are sort of pushed out.
Here the instructor is providing concurrent feedback to the learner during their golf swing. The instructor here can provide information and feedback easily in this stage as they are only in the stance phase and they are stationary. Whilst concurrent feedback is being provided, the instructor is using the cue sit in pants to help the learner get the bend in her legs.
A golf swing is practicing a series of actions that require different movement patterns. Here the instructor is breaking down the swing into different parts: the backswing and pause, shoulder rotation, follow through, and then feet movement.
Keep them straight, arms come up, club goes that foot with it. So make sure you come to the back foot pivots with it as you go.
As mentioned earlier, the learner has previous experience with tennis, so in this week the learner can transfer the follow-through of a tennis forehand shot to the follow-through of a golf swing.
So there is keeping your legs planted to the ground and your knees bent at all times. So you're not lifting your feet as you come up, you just keep them planted and keep your knees bent. What you do with the follow through with the arms is correct, over the shoulder, very nice. Just want to watch your feet movement, so not moving this foot too early in that foot. So what you're doing, you're sort of moving this foot first and then lifting that foot. You want to sort of do it at the same time, simultaneously.
Okay.
Increasing the muscle strength and flexibility will contribute to creating a more powerful and controlled golf swing. Strengthening exercises, targeting the muscles of the arms, shoulders, and back through exercises such as seated weight ball throws, help the learner achieve this. The learner has now moved towards the autonomous stage, so the skill can be performed together in one whole movement. As the learner is more proficient with the skill now, the instructor is able to let the learner go through 5 or 6 practice shots before giving feedback. In this last week of the training program, faded feedback will come into play with reduced frequency of the feedback and less information will be given. This is because the learners can process more specific and short instructions better, so they are not being overcoached. Throughout the training program, the scheduling of the skills started off with the most basic components progressing to the most complicated in week 4, which was going from the stance to the swing. This is because in order for the whole swing to be executed properly, there needs to be the correct stance. Variations would occur with different golf clubs. Here the instructor is providing knowledge on performance to the learner after the skill has been performed, giving specific feedback on the quality of performance, of which the instructor is praising the learner on the pivoting of her feet during the shot.
That was nice.